you look at copper, it's a pretty well a no-brainer in terms of the commodity selection. But in terms of mining districts and mining camps across Canada, the Highland Valley district is well known. It's we've been mining there for years. I think we pulled a stat the other day that Highland Valley at one point was the second largest mine in the world, copper mine in the world, from a throughput perspective.
All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is ryanoregan. He is the CEO of Getty Copper. And Ryan, it's good to see you. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, good to have you along. Excited to learn a bit more about the company and what's been going on. I know it's been very busy, and we'll talk about your role and all that coming up. But first, maybe for those not familiar with Getty, give us a bit of background.
Yeah, Getty is a known entity in the mining industry for a long period of time. We have history that stems back, back into the 50s and 60s from the founding fathers of our company. Basically, the mineral claims have been accumulated over the course of the 60s and 80s, and then the majority of the drilling was through the 90s. So between now and I'll call it the late 90s, there hasn't really been much development from a project development perspective on the project. So we are executing on the first material drilling program basically in 30 years. So it's a bit of a known entity. Everyone knows about Getty that's been in the mining industry, in particular in BC copper. You know of the Getty property, you know the Getty assets, but it's been fairly dormant over the last few years. And yeah, we're excited to get back into the dirt and get some drills turning.
So I mentioned your role, and you've recently stepped into the role of a CEO. Is that what really led you towards wanting to do that? Is the opportunity that you see here?
Yeah, a couple things with Getty. One, having the presence within a known district, I think is very very important. If you look at copper, it's a pretty well a no-brainer in terms of the commodity selection. But in terms of mining districts and mining camps across Canada, the Highland Valley district is well known. It's we've been mining there for years. I think we pulled a stat the other day that Highland Valley at one point was the second largest mine in the world, copper mine in the world, from a throughput perspective. So, it's nice to attach your cart to a project that's adjacent to that mine, and it's a very famous mining district in British Columbia and Canada, and that was a focus of mine to develop a mine and develop more mines in Canada is high on my list. So this one just seemed like it was ready to go, and there's lots of upside from a district perspective. The fact that we hold almost 25,000 hectares of ground in this district, it's not only the resource that's sitting there in place from a historical resource perspective, but also the upside of getting some good geology work and getting some drilling targets on some of these higher risk, higher reward areas.
Um, in when I was researching the company, you put out an outlook that really talked about resource growth and expansion and that district exploration potential that you talked about as well. And that sort of leads into the drill program, and that's really what it's designed to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we're very fortunate to have some historical work on the property. Obviously, it's been around for a significant amount of time. There's been a lot of drilling over the years, although many decades ago. We've got a foundation to build off of in terms of the resource and known copper intervals that are in the ground. And we've got a pretty good understanding from the legacy work that had been done. But then also there's been a lot of areas that have, I don't want to use the word neglected, but just for, capital constraints and different reasons why those areas haven't been drilled and taken advantage of from a positive way. Um, those targets are immense. Our geology teams are pulling together our high opportunity, high targets for kind of that 2026, 2027 exploration target profile. So
Mhm.
we're excited to start rolling that out as well while we're drilling some of the known areas at the moment.
Are you going to focus on this drill program in 2026 on Getty North or Getty South or a combination of both? Talk us through what sort of the plan is.
Yeah, as you know, I mean, drilling in this part of the world is very iterative. So,
Mhm.
we kicked it off. We're lucky to get the drill going here early in the season. We're in a really strong area for drilling year round, good ground conditions. So we've targeted the Getty North to get some new metallurgical work done and multi-metal assay done. And we're focusing on Getty North right now, and then that'll, as we migrate the knowledge for Getty North, we'll throw some resource at Getty South, and then hopefully get into some of these, like I say, other exploration targets. So it's a bit of a Rubik's cube, as you know, with drilling, and each hole, each meter really changes your thinking and potentially could change your plan as you execute on those 10,000 meters that we've got planned this spring, and then that will drive the knowledge and the logic towards the decision making for that follow up drilling program this fall.
You mentioned the historical work that's been done, and I imagine that gives you somewhat some comfort in certain decisions that you make because there has been quite a bit of work done on here already. Now it's obviously past work, and there's new ways of doing geology and things like that now, but it does give you that sort of roadmap that was set out many years ago.
It does, yeah. I mean, we're very fortunate. We've got our development office in Logan Lake. It's a great facility. Some of these legacy things that you try to use those as a slingshot to propel you into the future, and to support your development workflows. But at the same time, you want to make it your own. I talked about this the other day. You come in, you try to learn from it, but it's a clean slate. Once we take control of the reins here and make decisions for how we develop these assets, it's ours, and we want to have that extreme ownership of what our plans are, and as we evaluate that data, it's very critical. It's very important when you think about the value of a junior exploration development company. It's really that data is where all your value sits, and you want to make sure you're taking advantage positively of all those different things that have been done in the past, and really understand the narrative and the story of the past, because there's probably little nuggets in there, and there's little exciting things that you can pull from, that potentially could drive some of the future value of the project and these different areas, right? So we're trying to learn from the past. We're trying to, it's looking at mistakes and maybe some things that were done incorrectly, or, some things that we can learn from. We're trying to do that as well, while maintaining a core focus on the good work that has been done on the resource, the historical resources, et cetera.
Yeah, and you have a strong treasury. I know that, and which is always good. So you got runway to do a lot of work, which it sounds like you're going to do. But one last question for you, and that is, you talk about copper and where it is now, and I know that as the new CEO, you probably have been thinking about this part of it. That there's not a better time, I think, in the world to really try and unlock the potential value of what is at Getty, and I think because of where we are in the world and what we need.
Oh, no question. And I'm a proud Canadian. I think the fact that it's in our backyard, it's a safe tier one jurisdiction of mining, and we want to engage with, and some of the sophistication on all those different levels is something that we're trying to pull on in terms of, we try to leverage the fact that there's been mining in this basin for so long. So there's, the workforce and the knowledge and the education around heavy industrial activity in the region, and then the infrastructure that's in place. So all these things we're trying to pull on and really support that Canadian copper industry into the future. And we think we're a big piece of that.
Well, it's going to be a sure fascinating spring and summer at Getty, and we look forward to following the story as it develops. So, Ryan, thanks very much. Really great to catch up with you, and it's going to be an interesting time for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Cheers.
There's Ryan O'Regan. He's the CEO of Getty Copper.